Want to move on to Final Space.
Yeah.
Also, I know you're kind of thrown off. The scheduling for Final Space had been altered for the last two episodes. So instead of premiering on, I think
Saturday.
it was Saturdays, they now go off on Sunday.
Oh, so that's tonight. Got it. Okay. Well, let's talk about last week's episode, because goddamn, last week's episode was just heartbreaking. I mean, they all are, but this one especially.
Yeah. It's... Oh my god. I wasn't ready for the fact that... I knew it was going to fail. I knew in some way, shape, or form it was going to fail. That much was kind of obvious. But the whole situation with little Kato ends up being the real major force of things. And that's just...
Cannot imagine what that poor kid is going through right now. He literally just got kidnapped by another person who says they care about him after finding out that the male figure in his life that he's looked up for such a long time murdered his parents. He didn't even hear it from Avocado himself. He just hears it from Ash, who at this point was already on the fence about whether or not she was leaving the team squad. Now she's just hell-bent on not sticking around.
Yeah, to a certain degree, I can't really blame her. Just because, with everything that's gone down and, the betrayal she suffered from her own father when it came to Fox and all that, I understand where she's coming from, but at the same time, I am hoping that she kind of gets her shit together at some point.
I do too, but I'm not sure she's going to, is the thing. Because the thing is, in the beginning of the episode, she's praising Quinn for trying to do the right thing, but then immediately decides that, nope, you fucked up, just like everything else fucks up, fuck this, fuck you, fuck all of this, I'm out.
Yeah.
She's kind of having that teenager kind of reaction.
Well, teenager who immediately found herself about 18.
Oof.
But, yeah, it's just, I don't know, I don't want things to end poorly with her at the end of this season, but it would be incredibly on brand for this entire season, so series. It's really hard to tell.
So the way I see it going is, best case scenario, they'll get Little Kato back and find a way out of Final Space, but Ash is probably staying behind and probably joining Invictus. But how about Quinn and Gary finally hooking up?
Well, trying to at least.
I mean, they did once they finally got Little Kato to just be like, hey, go hype somebody else up for a bit, okay, buddy?
Like, you go do your own thing for a little while, buddy.
We want some alone time.
Alone bone time.
Alone bone time, and boy, did they have that alone bone time. I love how, God, I cannot remember the name of this little cat dude that came in during the season.
Oh,
like,
the weirdo.
Yeah, the weird. Can't remember his name, but he's asking what happened to your hair? Like, that's what happens when you have sex, little friend. I don't know if you know what that is. Don't strike me as someone who would.
Biscuit the tiger.
Oh God, he has simultaneously it's mostly cute. It's mostly a cute little name. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it's mostly cute. But at the same time, it's just it's trying to sound intimidating, but it's how do I put it? It's like a small child trying to sound intimidating.
Yes, exactly that. I mean, at the very least, I'm just glad he's so capable, or else he'd easily be... I mean, he could easily switch to annoying, but Kevin's taking up so much of the annoying that I'm just like, yeah. You got off lucky, little buddy.
To be fair, Kevin set the bar for just how low you can go. So, Biscuit, at the very least, is just like, okay, I'm kind of annoying just like Kevin, but at the very least, I can, do helpful shit around here.
Yeah.
Because Biscuit has been kind of like the centerpiece of keeping everybody alive for a good portion of the season.
About half the season. Like, Olin Rogers apparently just wanted another character to voice.
That's fair. I'll give him that.
I mean, I have to assume it's because Tribor left, and he was having so much fun with that, so it's just like, you know what, just put in another character.
Like, you know, I'm gonna write Tribor off at some point in the season, but I don't want to keep relying on other voice actors, so just throw in Biscuit. And I'll give him a voice.
Man, but
one thing I did really enjoy about this episode is Lil Cato's interaction with Cheryl, and more or less dubbing her as his grandma.
Yes, yeah.
And the fact that, like, at first she was just like, nah, I ain't about that shit. And then, you know, when she finds out Ash is about to kill him, it's like, oh, you are not about to kidnap my grandson.
Yeah. I don't want to say this, but at the same time, with all the positive things that have been going on for Cheryl, I'm fully expecting her to die at the end of the season.
God, you're right. Oof.
Yeah. It's just been too positive too fast, and I'm just like, yeah, you people don't like giving us good things. This isn't gonna last.
You're gonna make us happy for a while, only to hurt us even harder later.
Yeah. And what bigger tragedy is there for Gary than losing the mother who has only just recently come around to loving him?
Yeah. I mean, hell, first season, they already got rid of the love of his life. I mean, they brought her back, sure, but, you know, he still had to experience the pain of losing her.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's real hard to tell, man. Something else kind of ominously unfortunate I feel that I might need to bring up to you is apparently Olin Rogers on his Twitter stated that this episode might be the last time he records for Final Space. I don't know what that means though.
Oh, well, it had a good run. 3 good seasons. That's how I'm going to look at it.
Yeah, let's see. Let me read the actual tweet. This was about April 28th, so a little bit ago. Did my last little voice recording for season 3. Come to think about it, it may be even Final Space. Oh, last recording for maybe even Final Space. Haha, if it is the last record. Still, I don't know. Thanks for listening to me bumble my way through characters I really had zero right to voice. It was fun and challenging. Thank you.
Well, he might not actually know if Final Space is going to continue after the 3rd season, and that's fair.
Yeah, that seems to be the direction it's going. Like, it's kind of up in the air.
Well, I mean, I hope for the best with this show, and it's going to be hard to get more people into it because of Cartoon Network doing what it's done.
Honestly, I really hope that they put it on HBO Max or something, because I feel like it would really thrive there.
The first 2 seasons are on HBO Max. The 3rd one is not yet. So, I guess we'll have to wait a year for season 3 to be on HBO Max. A year, 6 months, however the fuck long this shit takes, I don't even know anymore. But, it just became much harder to enjoy something, live, premiering live, based on the simple fact that, now if you want to watch Cartoon Network, you have to pay for a subscription to Cartoon Network. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but, well, whoever you are, you're a fucking idiot. I'm just gonna say that outright.
Oh, okay, this is interesting.
What's up?
Apparently Olin Rogers is, for the most part, moving on to something called The Lion's Blaze. Looks kind of interesting.
The Lion's Blaze. I mean, I'm gonna check it out, because I like Olin Rogers' stuff. I love his sense of humor. Oh, taking everything he's learned from Final Space and applying it to something else? Oh, sign me the fuck up. Yeah, I'm here for it.
It'd just be a shame if this is the end of the road for things, but if nothing else, it's been a good ride. There's a way shit ton of concept art that he's had started putting out earlier this year, and if you ever get a chance, look it up, because apparently there was gonna be a lot more surreal stuff going on, but a lot of the core stuff we saw in terms of the series is all there.
Good. I'll have to look into it at some point. I don't really have anything more to say on the most recent episode. Yeah, no, that's all I got so far.
Okay. I did want to talk about two series that I had recently finally got around to finishing because they all up on Disney Plus, so I thought, you know what? While I'm doing other stuff, I can just watch this. Also, I tend to watch things while I'm at work.
I mean, if you have literally nothing else to do and no one seems to give a shit, I'm not gonna fault you.
Oh no, I just put my phone somewhere that they can't see because what my day job consists of is busy work, so it's just like, you know what? I haven't gotten in trouble yet, so let me just keep poking the bear.
That's a brilliant philosophy.
But
absolutely brilliant.
But recently I've finished watching the Big Hero 6 series.
I've seen bits and pieces of that. It does look really good. I just never bothered to actually sit and watch it. How is it?
It's the first season starts off fairly slow. They're introducing themselves to the city as superheroes, starting to get kind of a rogues gallery going. Some fun villains, some kind of really cheesy villains. Probably my favorite is a villain called Momakase, who has these stupid sharp knives that have like these plasma edges. She's actually kind of an adaptation of a character from the Big Hero 6 comic books back when it was more of a Marvel property rather than a Disney property. So that badass chick. She's almost like Shigo. The only downside is she doesn't really have a Kim Possible to go with that.
So what? Like it's potential, but it's kind of wasted.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in terms of the first season, first half of the season is it's decent. It was the second half of the season when they introduced the villain Obake. Oh man, is this dude so cool. Like, when I tell you that villain just felt... He gives off the kind of the vibe of almost like Slade from Teen Titans.
Ooh.
Just in terms of how he plans and stuff like that.
I have seen a few bits and pieces of like I said, I've seen bits and pieces of Big Hero 6. Didn't really pay much attention to it, but I did get to see a few glimpses of Obake, and he does have that kind of vibe.
Yes. It really was a great villain, and honestly, throughout the course of Season 2 and 3, his presence is still felt in the series. Like, he was just that much of an amazing influence on the series.
So I guess spoiler alert, he doesn't make it past season 1.
Not in the way that I wish he did.
That's fair.
That's the big downside. Like, a lot of the stuff he does makes it pass, and it has a bit of a bearing towards the end of season 2 and the entirety of season 3, which for some reason they shortened like to an extreme degree, but that's kind of been happening with certain Disney properties. Also the topic of the next half of this discussion, but in terms of season 2 though, you know, the beginning of season 2 is super strong. Like, super strong. They introduced this one villain who just has machinations upon machinations, all in the shadows. It's just like, it is deeply fascinating where things are going. Like, solid writing from the team for the first half of season 2. The problem is that a little bit after all of that is over and done with, it's almost like, I don't know what happened, but the writing team loses the plot.
What do you mean they lose the plot?
Because everything going on with the villain of season 2 kind of ends halfway through season 2. And that's it. Yeah. And they just kind of move on to other stuff. And I remember being like, wait, was that it? Nothing else? There was nothing else going on in the background? Nothing else being developed? No? Oh. And then they take a different direction with another character, you know, kind of tie up some stuff with some other characters, do a little bit more character building with some of the villains and stuff like that, let the more minor villains get involved with some other stuff, but see, that's kind of the problem too. Whereas the minor villains aren't terrible, they weren't the selling point of the series.
Can you elaborate? I'm not sure I follow.
How to put this? It's almost the equivalent of, well, I brought up Teen Titans, as if you were to make more episodes about characters like Control Freak, or Gizmo, or Mammoth.
Characters that don't really have the big name villain status. They're just more like named thugs.
Yes, pretty much. It's just like, they're not bad, I don't hate them, but at the same time it's just like, I've seen these characters, I kind of know what they're about. Yeah, you might get a little bit of a revelation for one fan favorite villain, but aside from that, it's just kind of like, I mean, I could take or leave the rest of these episodes.
So it's like these minor characters tried to strike out on their own, and it ends up the same way as when they're striking out for somebody else.
More or less. It's just like, I don't know what happened to the writing staff that they thought that this would be the way to go for the rest of the season, but it's just kind of like, oh, that's it? I liked it better when there was a plot, deeper machinations going on with the villains, rather than just random wanton acts of violence here and there with them trying to do their own thing and be their own villains, because it's just like, oh, I mean, that's fine, but the writing had gotten so solid up until this point that it's just like, yeah, no, this ain't doing it for me anymore. And that especially becomes the case when you get to season 3, which is kind of like they took what should have been a season, but then they made it into a mini-series. Because what went from, a little bit over 20 episodes became 10 episodes of 11-minute segments.
Oh, that's a weak way to handle a series. I have to assume somebody in like a corporate office was just like, yeah, this will be a much better idea. It wasn't.
I guess it's because they're now going into a new Baymax series that's going to be released on Disney Plus next year. But like the wrap up of this series just kind of feels like, honestly, had they ended things at the end of season 2, which the very last episode of season 2 is a pretty decent one. It handles an ongoing plot line that wasn't that great, but decent enough. And once you got to the end of season 2, had they ended it there, it would have been a fine ending. But season 3 decides to address a fun minor antagonist, and he tries to go big time and becomes the central focus of the entire season. But the character is only fun in small bursts. By giving him so much of a spotlight, it's just kind of like, oh, I'm seeing why I'm only fond of this character in small doses.
So it's a character who you could enjoy once per episode if each episode was like maybe spaced apart by another 3.
Yes.
But when you see him on a more consistent basis, he basically just becomes insufferable.
More or less. And not deeply insufferable, but just like, I liked it better when I didn't see as much of you.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's totally fair.
And that's the big shame of things. It's just like, you had this series that was doing solidly at first, and it's not even like the ratings for the series like really dipped down, because kind of even the worst ratings of season 2 were pretty much on par with the ratings of season 3, so it's not the worst case scenario. But I think Disney kind of gave this series a bit of the shaft towards the end of things.
I'm not surprised to hear that. I'm really not. That's been Disney's MO for some time now, so,
Yeah.
It's unsurprising. Disappointing, but unsurprising.
Yeah. I really do hope they make a sequel to the movie or something, which hopefully revitalizes the series, because I do feel like the series really could have had something solid going on if they just allowed it to really take on more of the hard-hitting plot lines, because it's just like there's a lot of addressing of Hero's grief at losing his brother and the acceptance that he has to go through all of that. Like, that is the course of the first two seasons. Him coming to just accept that his brother is gone, slowly moving past all of that, his memory and all that, and him growing into his own person.